Hey everybody, Foreverretro82 here. This time I would like to talk about a console I really love with all my fucking bleeding bloody black heart. And it's a console I love next to the Dreamcast. It's the almighty Gamecube. Oh yes. This was a fantastic fucking console, and I really wish, things were better in terms of whatever was causing the system to fail. Probably there's a lot of factors, and I'll explain those, later. The story is going to be a long one because it dates back to 2001 when the GameCube was going to be released. So, I don't know the exact date. I want to say September or August of 2001. I had a job offer through a temp service with my friend Mike. We'll call him Mike G. It was kind of an assembly line. You work a line and basically you put parts on some hooks and then they send them down to the assembly plant where they get, assembled. And it was pretty easy work. It was hard at first because, when you first start a job after you haven't worked in some time, it takes used to, it takes getting used to. You get sore and everything else in between. It sucks. But, you get used to it. Anyways, Mike G and I we both got assigned to this place, and I was really looking forward to it, because I was like, hey, I can put money aside, first I can help my mom out, I can help myself out, and I can have money on the side to hopefully save up for a GameCube. Because it was coming out soon, and I wanted to make sure I get a pre-order in if it was available at the time. So we worked at this factory, and, the first day was fine. I was a little sore the next day, but, nothing, a nice bath with Epsom salt can't cure, that's for sure. And, and I was ready to go for the next day. But unfortunately, the second day, my friend Mike, his diet being all that, nothing but fucking Burger King, he was all complaining, I'm sore, excuse me, I'm tired, I don't want to do this, can we quit and then find another job, because I don't like this, but it's like, I'm like, I looked at him, and I'm like, Mike, because he took me aside, and I asked Mike, because Mike G was my transportation to this place, because I didn't know the bus route, and I'm kind of retarded when it comes to certain things, and the bus route I'm pretty retarded on. Needless to say, I really, really, really suck at learning bus routes or anything of that nature, and I just didn't know how to get there from where I lived. Otherwise, I would have just told him to fuck off. But I was going to pay him gas money for taking me to work, and because you get, first of all, they hold off your first check, obviously, and then you get paid thereafter, unless it's bi-weekly, and then you got to wait a whole fucking month before you get your first check. It's fucking ridiculous. So, I told him when we started this, I'm like, okay, we'll figure out the gas money situation and just give me a price and I'll pay it. At the time, I thought $20 was fair, and but we never got to. We said we'd discuss it as soon as we got our paycheck. Anyway, second day, cocksuckers all like, I'm telling I'm like, Mike, come on, dude. We're 19. We got to do something here. You worked at Burger King, and then you got fired because you were stealing food. This motherfucker was fat as fuck. I mean, he wasn't fat, like, body type necessarily. He had a little bit of chunk on him, but nothing, like, severely, like, obese, like, he had, like, a good chunk, but he wasn't, like, considered obese anyways. He was considered overweight. So, I talked to him. I'm like, look, man, let's just keep trying. Let's just keep it up. Just think of something. You got your cell phone. Listen to music. Look at the other guys. They got music. They got, one bud in their ear, and they're listening to music, having, they got something that will take their mind off the job, and they're just doing it, and they're going through the motions. It'll be fine. Then finally, he fucking had a fucking fit during the first break, because the boss came up to me. He was like, you're doing a great job. And I was like, well, thank you, sir. I'm happy to be here, and I want to, make you happy, and so I can maybe get hired in and everything. And he's like, yeah, I can see that, but he's like, we got a little problem. I'm like, what's the problem? Did I do something wrong? He's like, no, it's nothing to do with you. Your friend, on the other hand, he's like, I won't fire anybody until about 2 or 3 weeks after employment if they show no sign of improvement in their work ethic or their productivity, whatever the fuck. And he's all like, so I'm like, can you talk to him or something? I'm like, yeah, I'll talk to him. I'm like, what's he doing? He's like, he's just slow and he's giving me an attitude and this and that. I'm like, fuck me. I talked to him earlier. I said, dude, I know it's a new job, but we haven't worked in a while. We'll get used to it. It'll take some time, but we will get used to it. He's like, yeah, I know, man. He's like, well, he's like, I do appreciate your work here. And I'm like, well, thank you, sir. I hope I can continue to, make you happy, I guess. I mean, I don't like to kiss bosses' asses at all. I fucking hate most of my bosses because they're dicks. But that's the kind of boss you want. Someone that appreciates your work. We don't have that much in this day and age. But anywho, so break comes by. Or the break, we get on our break. The assembly line, one of the leaders, they had like 2 or 3 of them, was like, all right, you two are on break, go ahead and take your break. So, all right, sweet, sounds good. So Mike's like, well, I need to talk to you. And I'm like, oh, great, here we go again. So we go outside, and I'm like, Mike, what? Because I'm at a point where I just lost my patience with the cocksucker. He's all like, what? I'm like, what? And he's all like, I ain't gonna work here, so here's the deal. I'm gonna leave, and if you don't want to leave, or you need to find your way home. I'm like, Mike, I don't have another way home. If I did, I would tell you to fuck off, and I would take the way home. And he's like, well, then I guess you're stuck here then. I'm like, no, fine. What's your plan? What's your fucking master plan? And it better be a good one, too. He's like, well, we'll leave here. We'll quit here, right? And then what we'll do is we'll find another job with the temp service. And I'm just like, really? Just fucking really? What the hell? So I finally, I was thinking in my head, I'm like, I want to keep this job. I want to be able to, grow in the company and do all sorts of shit and get my Gamecube and, and all this other stuff. But this is my only way to get here because I don't have a car, I don't have a license. So I had to fucking swallow the hard bullet. And we didn't go in there and quit. He just got in the car and he's like, let's go. And I'm like, all right, fine, whatever. So I got in the car and I'm just sitting there I was really red in the face. I was pissed because I had so many plans I was going to do with this money and with this job. And, it wasn't all that great of a job, but it was a job, a job's a job at the time. When you're 19 and you have, like, nothing going for you, it was perfect, at least in my opinion, and then from then on I could maybe move on to something else, either within that company, grow within the company, or go somewhere else. But that was shot out the window thanks to Mike's dumbass. I still hate you for that. You don't watch my channel. I don't know what the hell you do. I know you're married. That's all I know. I think he's a trucker. Fuck you, dude. Anyways, so I'm still bitter over that. I shouldn't be, but I have a grudge problem. So I called my mom, lied to her, said we got fired because we were too slow. The truth of the matter is Mike was slow, and he was the one in danger of being fired if he didn't, push up the ante in terms of productivity. I was fine, but he wasn't. So, so I went home, and I was yelled at, scolded at. You're 19, what the hell? My job of raising you is over. You should have your own place and have money and have a job. What the hell's wrong with you? When I was your age, I'm like, yeah, when your age, the economy was better, right? When I was 18, what did I do? What did I do when I graduated high school? I applied everywhere I could. No one was hiring. No one is still hiring. I mean, we got lucky with this shit, but I'm like, then I slipped up and said, Mike fucked it up. And she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, he was slow and everything, and the guy said I was fine, but then Mike wanted to quit. And then at that point, I was like, oh, shit. She's like, you could have took the bus. I'm like, Mom, I don't understand the bus. Bitch. Anyway. So, after that, a few days go by. I talk to Mike. I'm like, okay, dude, where's that call you said we're going to get? Where's that job you said we're going to get? All right, so you basically lied to me. You know what you can do? You can go fuck off. I'm like, I don't want to hang out with you right now. You pissed me off. You may want all the free time in the world, but I want to find some work because there's some things I want and some things I want to do, but you're ruining it for me, so fuck off. So, we stopped pretty much being friends there for a little while. We reconciled later, but that was way later. And, I found a job at this other plant they called me for. It was some kind of electric company, but they also did like pipes too for something. I don't fucking remember. I just know it was like an electric and heating. I really don't remember. It was so long ago. So I went there, and I worked there for about a week, 2 weeks. Unfortunately, it was bi-weekly pay, so it would be a month before I get my first check. But unfortunately, me and the 2 other guys we got that hired on, we got some bad news. The company basically stated that they didn't have enough payroll to pay their guys as well as us, even though, you know, we were told what we would be um, entitled to after the 90-day probation period. You know, insurance and a few other things. Great, you know, good stuff. You know, good. It all sounded good. But unfortunately, they let us go because they didn't have the payroll to pay us, and they had no choice but to cut us off. And the manager was very unhappy about it. He apologized. He even gave us $100, all of us $100, like just under the table kind of shit, and said, "You guys are awesome. You're on the." He's like, "If we grow as a company though, and I can get some more payroll in this place, I will call you guys. I want you guys here." And I was like, "All right, well, I guess this is it." And we were all just disappointed and shit. You know, like, "What are you gonna do?" I'm like, "Oh, we're gonna go back to Future Force," which was the name of the temp company, and see if we can get something else. I'm like, "Yeah, that sounds like me. I'll see you guys there at 7 in the morning." I was the only person there. Those guys were gone. Yeah, 7 in the morning is when they open, and usually that's when they get calls from companies, or the companies call them and say, "Hey, there's some guy drunk off his ass, and we're gonna have to let him go." You know, it was a clusterfuck for them, and you know, but I was there, and wow, no jobs appeared. I went there for about a week, maybe couple more days after that, and I was not finding anything. So I was like, okay, this fucking blows, you know. I'm on the verge of getting kicked out because I can't find fucking work or nothing. I mean, I eventually did get kicked out a lot later than there, but that's, you know, a story for another time. You know, we don't want to turn this into something depressing, right? We're talking about a great game system here. But I wanted to give you a little backstory. I mean, I was very interested in this thing as soon as I heard of its name. There was this rumor on Game Informer, though, in the magazine I read, that this game was actually known as the Star Cube. To me, I don't think that's right. I think they had their fucking... because I can't find anything based on it other than in Game Informer, so I don't know what they were hearing their shit from their sources. Obviously, if they're paying these sources for information like that, they need to fire them. I don't like Game Informer because they're a bunch of snobs, and their taste in games suck. I don't like publications anyways these days because they're paid now. I mean, they could have been paid back then. I don't know. But that's besides the point. Point is, I finally found myself a stable work environment, and it was the least favorite kind of job that I think anyone would do next to fast food. I got a gig at a retail store called Big Lots. Some of you may know this from my vlogging days. And, well, you know, I showed a lot of disdain for that place, you know, but it was a job. And I've mentioned before, a job's a job, you know. You go in and do whatever you got to do, and then you go home. I mean, it's really that simple. And you get paid for it. So I started there in July of 2003. I went through this mental health service place that helped people with mental problems find work, and it was, you know, I thought it was fantastic. Because at the time I suffered from bipolar type 1, still have. That's besides the point. I don't talk about my problems in my head all that much because it's no one's business but my own. So I went there. First, they had me on like a little trial period. I worked there at first for 2 days a week. I was unloading trucks. They wanted to see how well I did. Now, me not having worked a while, it was difficult. It really was. But eventually, I got used to it. I got used to unloading and putting stuff on, you know, pallets, and because you had to do it all by hand. Some places they have pallets that are all together and nice, neat. All you gotta do is go in there with the pallet jack, you know, jack it up, and pull the fucker out. So we did that. We would do that, and you know, it was hard work, but I eventually was okay after about 2 weeks of doing that, and so they put me on more. So I unloaded trucks, and then I would do stock and recovery. If you don't know what recovery is, it's where you clean the store after a bunch of fuck faces and dickheads throw shit around the store and make it look like a mess, and you have to clean up after them. And it was always strenuous and stressful, especially during Christmas time. Don't even get me started. I would come home in tears, and sometimes I even had a mental breakdown. Yeah, but luckily, you know, I had people there that understood that I wasn't all there, and they were patient with me. So, you know, I do appreciate that to this day. And I still talk to them once in a while, the people that from there, on different, like, social media types and whatnot, or sites. We talk sometimes and see what they're doing. Most of them are retired because they're a bunch of old people. I get along with old people more than I do with young people. But anyways, that's besides the point. Point is my second paycheck, my first one, I wanted to give my mom some money because she was struggling really hard, and my brother was unable to find work as well, and he was well, shortly after that, she told me he had to go. Now that I'm working, she wanted me to stay, but then my brother was having work problems. He had to go, but his friend offered him a job. But, my brother's more spiteful than I am. He basically, when he got that job, he just left home and told my mom basically to fuck off. But then, a few years later, he's fucking near 40 and still living with my mother. Go figure. You want to know a real basement dweller? You want to call me one? Nah, my fucking brother Mike is. Anyways, but he doesn't live in the basement. He lives in the upstairs portion of at mom's house. So it's pretty much the same thing, though. And he definitely fits the criteria of a pure incel. But that's besides the point. Anyways. So, second paycheck. It was Friday. I just got done riding my bike to work to get my check, because at the time I didn't have a bank account, and I was doing it the old-fashioned way, taking your paycheck to a bank or a store and getting it cashed, and you get your money and throw it in your wallet and be about your day. So it was Friday, and I think I was playing one of my SNES games, because I was playing Super Turrican, because I never got a chance to play that much before then, because I just pretty much came back from being kicked out at the time, and I remember I bought that game for my birthday because a friend gave me some money for my birthday and said, buy her something you want, and I wanted Super Turrican when GameStop was carrying retro games at the time. So I was playing that. I believe. This was a long time ago, but from what I remember, that's what it was. He's like, hey, did you hear that Game Crazy open? I'm like, is that the store that's connected to Hollywood Video? He's like, yeah, over in Hoover 11. I'm like, yeah. He's like, I heard they opened today. I'm like, oh, really? He's like, do you want to go? Do you have any money? I'm like, well, I got $100 I got from my leftover from paying my mom and everything. And I'm like, yeah, let's see what they got. And he's like, okay, cool. I'm like, so what do you know about this place? He's like, I know they sell retro games too, and I know that's up your alley. So I was like, oh fuck yeah, of course it is. I can. Get my, get a nice collection going, I guess, now that I'm working and everything. And so we go up there. And if you don't know what familiar Game Crazy, that's the place right there. There we go. Right there. That's Game Crazy. It was connected. They had these fences that looked like stuff that you would jump when you're a kid. Those wired framed fences and shit. I don't know what they were going for, like a grunge look maybe or something. I don't know. Anyways, so I went there, and I noticed they had SNES games, Genesis games, Game Boy games, GameCube, PS2, Saturn. I was just like, oh wow, this place has it going on. And I like the prices too, because I was also familiar with another game store called Game Rush, and their prices were high. But that's the moniker of fucking Blockbuster, is excuse me, you pay higher shit for the same stuff. It's stupid. I'm sorry. I don't like Blockbuster entirely, because the rental prices were too high with games, and so were the games if you wanted to buy them. I just, so this place was looking good. I saw controllers for $10, like actual official controllers like this, were $10. I was just already happy with it. But then I noticed they had a lot, and I mean a lot of GameCubes, and they were refurbished, but that's okay. I always like refurbished models because they fixed the problem that was wrong with the original console. And when they fix that and it's refurbished, I'm fine with that. I'm sincerely happy with that. So I asked them, I'm like, excuse me, and they're like, yes. I'm like, how much are your GameCubes there? And he's like, oh, they're the refurbished brand, and yeah, we've got a lot of them. They're $69 a piece. I'm like, $69? I have $100 in my pocket. I could take a GameCube home. This is fucking great. Now, knowing me, I could have said, hold it. I don't think I could be able to buy any games. I'll just buy a console and be able to do this for a minute. Ah, GameCube, sweet. But, so I sat there for a minute. I'm like, fuck it. Even if I have to wait another week to get a game, it's only a week. For fuck's sake, I'll just play my SNES and whatever. But I was like, all right, I want one. And then, of course, they tried to sell me their MVP membership, which I did because it was a grand opening, and they had a sale that, if you became an MVP membership on the grand opening sale, $5 instead of the usual $10, which is the same price as the GameStop Power Up card or whatever it's called. It was called something else completely different back in the day. I think it was called the GameStop membership card or some lame shit. Powered Up sounds dumb too. That's besides why. This is personal feelings. Don't mind me. So, you know, I pick up this card, or I pick up the console and card and everything, and they're like, "Is that all going to be all? Is this all going to be for you today? Is this it?" And I'm like, "I'm going to look at your games real fast. Is that okay?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure." So I go and I look at the games. Now I don't know how to okay. If you look behind me, I apologize for the trash. I got to take that out after I make this video. As you can see, you know, there's, you know, a line here of games, you know, PSP and all that. Basically, these first two lines is all they had of GameCube. That was it. They had barely anything, and everything was well without them, out of my price range, unfortunately. But they did have one game, and I never played it, never looked up reviews or nothing, because this was at a time when I was stopping the whole trusting publications with reviews, because sometimes I would get a game that's rated low as shit, and it actually turned out to be pretty fun, even though it did have its problems, but it wasn't something that was game-breaking, in my opinion. One game, of course, like this is Minority Report, everybody runs. That game is funny as shit. You can throw people off cliffs and stuff. It's hilarious. And it's also, it just makes me laugh when I'm in a shitty mood. But that's besides the point. So, the only game they had there that I was able to afford was Die Hard Vendetta, a first-person shooter. It was only $5, actually. So I'm like, this game's probably going to suck shit. And I also had enough money to buy myself a 59 block memory card. Boy, is that a waste of money. That thing doesn't hold barely worth a dick, especially with later games that use a lot more memory to save on them with. It's ridiculous. I mean, later they released the 100 cards, I believe, and that is a much better bargain. And they weren't all that much more expensive either. But I didn't know this. This was my first time owning a GameCube and knowing its little quirks and little things. And I'm gonna explain what I like about the system as soon as, you know, I'm done telling this story. You know, but I'm like, that new game feel, especially when you're younger, when you're excited about everything, I was just full manic, full, you know, bipolar, going, you know, fucking all my serotonin fucking receptors in my brain are just like lighting on fire. I'm like, this is really happening. Fuck yeah, you know, that happy feeling. You know, you don't get that when you're older. So enjoy it if you still receive that feeling. I don't get that anymore. Anyway, so I bought a memory card, MVP card, Die Hard Vendetta, and I bought this thing, GameCube. Now, one thing I want to state before I continue with the story, because it's just about over, is a lot of people bitch about this. They're like, it looks like a fucking lunchbox, but you know, can your lunchbox be so heavy to where if you hit somebody hard enough with this motherfucker, you'll knock them out or possibly cause brain trauma? This thing could be used as a weapon. Cool. You can't do that with your PS2. As soon as you hit the motherfucker, not only would the thing shatter in a shitload of pieces, but it would also break. You hit this motherfucker in the skull, it'll break their skull open, and it'll still work. You'll probably have to go to jail, and it'll be a while before you play it again, but the point still stands. It still works. You know, so I picked all that up. You know, I was just in a state of like, oh my god, it's happened. It's finally happened. I've waited 2 fucking years. That's why those job stories were relevant to this. I was trying so hard to find some kind of stable job to the point where I could get the system that I wanted for the longest time. And here it was. It was here. It was here. You know, it felt like fucking Christmas in July. It was here. I got it. And it came with the controller and all the hookups and everything, and it fired up perfectly, and I was really happy. I mean, before we went home, though, you know, I didn't eat all that day, because sometimes I'll be honest, I know I'm a fat fuck, but I don't eat sometimes. I really don't. Because I don't know, I just don't have an appetite, or I'm just flat out not hungry. I don't know if any of you have ever gotten that way. I mean, most of the time, I'm just down in water. Because, you know, I suffer from edema. You know, once again, though, we're not putting health shit in front of thing, even though sometimes I tend to ramble. So, yeah. So, you know, we were hungry, so I just thought, all right, fuck, I got like, I think all that, I had like $5 left, $4 or $5 left. So I went and bought myself a couple of the Junior Bacon Cheeseburgers, you know, a small fry and a small drink. And we sat there and ate, and he's like, well, how do you feel, man? I'm like, Oh, I'm fucking happy, man. You know how much I wanted this console ever since I played it on launch day at GameStop, and I just fell in love with that demo disc with Luigi's Mansion and Rogue Squadron and a few of those titles. You knew how happy I was about the system and how it exceeded my expectations of a Nintendo platform looking that good and playing that well. He bought that day. I believe he bought Soldier of Fortune Gold Pack. I think it was for the PS2. I think it was the Gold Edition or Gold Pack. I don't remember entirely. I think he bought it then, and he also bought Hitman 2 for the PS2 as well. So he got himself a bargain too. And both of those games only cost him about $15 for both of them. I was really surprised. We were happy with the price, and I said, and I was sitting there just thinking. I'm like, hey man, I think we found our new game store. He's like, I totally agree, man. He's like, GameStop sucks. I don't like that. I don't like it there. I don't like how they push shit on you all the time. I mean, I get it. They're trying to upsell. I'm like, yeah, tell me about it. So we found a game store we adored, and to this day, I'll miss Game Crazy. They finally, they closed up relatively fast. Ours lasted only about 3 or 4 years after being launched, and I got along with the first manager really well. Second manager I had a big crush on. She was a little chunky lady because I like big girls, right? She has strawberry blonde hair and this face that was just so cute. I hit on her so hard, and she knew it. But she would never, push me away and say, "Ew, you're nasty." No, because I can be charming when I want to be. You wouldn't think that way. I mean, look at me. I look like a fucking troll. Cave troll or some shit, No, but back then I was charming, and, nothing came of it, obviously. We just would flirt with each other once in a while. It was good times. Then she got a job I guess, to be part of Kmart. Yeah, well, she probably doesn't have that anymore. And then there's this douchebag. His name was Ken. He talked like this. I mean, this one guy was coming in just talking about how he thinks the Xbox platform is hot shit. It's the greatest platform. And Ken literally said in that voice, the Xbox is the greatest system ever. And I'm just like this. Hand slap to the head. No, I don't agree. Xbox is an impressive platform, but it is no way the best platform because they're just copycatting everybody else. I mean, it's just a consoleized PC. Flash forward today, that's what all consoles are. Why are you settling for weaker hardware where you can get the real deal, like I got a tower here, and get a better experience and different controls? You don't have to stick with the proprietary control unless it's good, obviously. But then you can get adapters to play the, like I can get an adapter for this fucking thing to play on my PC, and it works just fine. But I'm not going to do that because I kind of like the mouse and keyboard route for PC games. But yeah, went home, hooked it up. It worked just fine. I played Die Vendetta and kind of regretted it an hour later. But I did complete it. It took me about a week. There's some hard spots in the game. And, as with always, I will show gameplay footage, the follow-up to this video, because you guys know how the shindig goes. I do the story, and then I show some games. I'm going to show the games that I first started with, as I always try to do. And you may just be disappointed with some of the picks I have for when I first played it. But you gotta understand, I was under a very tight budget because I wasn't paid all that much at Big Lots. And I had an internet bill that was dial-up, $10 a month. But, no, actually, I take it back. It was $20 a month. I forgot. Or no. Okay. I got some timers. That's right. It was $13.99 a month. I don't know if any of you ever used Family Online's internet back in the day before they sold out the Earthlink. Yeah, I used that service. It was like 13, and it was actually really good for dial-up. Videos, downloadable videos, depending on their size, if they were 10 megabytes, it'd be done in like a half hour. I mean, that sounds like wow, that's a long wait. But for dial-up, that's actually pretty impressive. But yeah, I was so happy about this system. As soon as I got it, I apologize, my analog. It's one of the things I'll talk about that I don't like in a minute. But anyways, so I got this bitch right here. This beautiful beast. Now, what do I like about the GameCube? Well, first of all, it's got a plethora of great games. I mean, if you look over here, underneath my NES collection, there's my Wii and N64 and Genesis. Sorry about the trash. I gotta take it out after this video. But yeah, this goes on for too deep, right? There's 2 columns. There's some NES games there because I couldn't fit them up there. There's 2 columns. There's a column behind each of these columns here, and I got more over here. So there's a lot of fucking games on the GameCube I love. And of course, over to the far right is, of course, my Game Boy Advance box games and my PS2 games, which also goes too deep because some of them are not just mine; they're my wife's. Fucking webcams. Move. There we go. Okay, so that's one of the things. The games. I mean, what sells the system, I've said many times before, is the games. And GameCube had tons of games. I mean, some of them were ports from other systems. And some of them had shit taken out because it only used 1.5 gigabytes, which is probably one of the fallings and why developers did not make games for this system, was because of the size constrictions, much like cartridge. But the reason why Nintendo did that is because they created a die that made the games load faster. Because I guess that's what Satoru Iwata's problem was, but then again, he wasn't part of Nintendo's presidency right away. You know, Hiroshi Yamauchi, I believe was his name. You know, rest in peace. By the way, he passed away a few years ago. You know, I think he was still the president up until 2001, I believe, when the GameCube launched. I mean, the GameCube was already done, but they had the disc system. Let me grab a game just to show. I'm pretty sure some of you have already seen a GameCube disc. I mean, it comes in just like a DVD case, you know, like this is Dragon Slayer 3D. Okay, so they're small, but it uses a special die for the laser to read the games faster, so load times are almost non-existent. And most games on the GameCube did not take long to load. For that reason, it had a specific die that the laser could read. It was easier on the laser in order for it to read properly. And in doing so, the games would load quicker. One game I can think of that had long loading times on the GameCube, and that was Turok Evolution. I like that game, fuck off. So, the other thing I love about the GameCube is its cooling system. This is ingenious in my opinion. Now, a lot of people speculate that the reason why the GameCube is as small as it is because of, Japanese homes are small, and they are, obviously. They don't have much space to work with a lot of things, but then, you know, you have, like, YouTubers like Luke Morris, he's from Michigan, by the way, so, you know, thumbs up to him, and shout out to him, of course, he's a good YouTuber, but I have to say, man, you're a hoarder when it comes to tech. This motherfucker owns so many goddamn PCBs and consoles and games and accessories that it makes even the biggest game lover blush because it's just so much. I mean, I remember when he moved, he made a video and he had like seriously like 300 totes filled with tech that he was shipping from his storage facility to his new place, and I'm sitting here like this. I'm like, the hell? Why do you have so much? I mean, there is a difference between having a lot and having too much, and you have too much, Luke. I'm sorry, man. His channel is Luke Morse 1. I can link you guys in the description just in case. But this has a cooling of a PC system, okay? And what that is basically is this side has a fan. It basically sucks in the air, cools off the innards, and blows out this side. So it has a PC cooling system, and it keeps your drive cool, so you can game for hours on end, and it will never overheat unless you block these. And of course, it has a little bit of ventilation here as well. So, you know, you have plenty of ventilation space. The PS2 especially has some of the worst ventilation. There's a fan in the back, and then there's vents on the front. You know, so there's not much ventilation going on. I had a lot of friends that a lot of their shit would overheat. They'd play a game for maybe about a half hour, and their system would just shut off. Or there'd be a lot of graphical glitches, and then the system would just completely freeze because it's fucking too hot in there. You could buy fans for that fucking thing, though. I mean, why do you have to buy an extra accessory for it to function in its proper use? Xbox One, the original generation Xbox was the same fucking way. I'm sorry, 6th gen, Nintendo got it right. GameCube, or GameCube, yes, you're awesome. Dreamcast did something okay, but it was still a little not very good. There was a fan on the side, and there was vents on the back. Basically, what they were trying to do is it would suck in air from the side and then blow out the back. Now, if they made another vent on the side, I think it would have been similar to the cooling of this. Now, with moving parts and loading times and all that, it requires a lot of power, a lot of moving parts. It needs to stay cool and, of course, lubricated. Because over time, the disk drive lasers can't move because there's not enough lubrication. They last a long time, but you still have to re-grease them if you want them to last. PS2 is a prime example of overkill when it comes to maintenance on that motherfucker. I hate the PS2. That's why I barely use it. But, it has... the system has very simple functionality. I mean, you have the door, and look at that. Nintendo's first foray into CD consoles. And what's really neat is when you put a disc in, you press the middle and the disc would pop right up, so you can keep your games in mint condition. Barely any of my games have any scratches on them at all. However, I must mention that the games do have something that the Dreamcast has a problem with. Disc rot. It's where games when they get old enough, the die deteriorates and fuck off. But I never had a game do that. But apparently a lot of people online have claimed that their GameCube discs have dry rotted. Like, I don't understand, because one of the first games I bought was Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3. I mean, look. Nothing. It's shiny. It's pretty. Even the label's intact. This is a launch game on the GameCube. And it's fine. I don't get that. It doesn't make any sense to me. Some of you out there, if you want to tell me in the comments below, please let me know. I would like to hear about how your disc rot or when you bought the game. And I mean, I don't know. Do you have to have it in direct sunlight in order for it? I don't fucking know. It doesn't. I don't know. I never had that problem. All my games work fine, and they're not rotting or anything. So I don't get it. Another thing I like about the GameCube, of course, is you don't have to buy a fucking multi-tap like you do with the PS2. To me, that is fucking wasting money on something that should be already included in the system. I mean, Xbox got it right. I'll give Microsoft that. But you can have local multiplayer. You play in a first screen with you play in one screen and you have 4 corners, and you control shit and have a good time with multiplayer games. And there's a lot of them on the GameCube. There's Mario Parties, there's Smash Brothers Melee, Time Splitters. Just so many great games for the GameCube. And another thing I love about the GameCube, of course, is the controller. To me, this is what I would call a 3D controller. I know it looks weird. I mean, I will admit, when I seen screenshots of the GameCube controller, I would be just like, what the fuck is this? I mean, you'd look at this in a magazine or anything, and you'd just be sitting there just doing this. Like, what the fuck is this thing? How are you supposed to control? How does this even work? But it's the moment you put your hands around it, do you understand how it works? I mean, you got your shoulder buttons here. You have the Z button. Now, one thing I would change, and some third-party companies have done this. Mad Catz, even though their controllers are in terms of quality, they should have put another Z button here, because that way, I mean, it would look like a DualShock, obviously. I mean, I guess they're trying to different themselves from it. But, you got the Z button right here. Triggers feel nice on your fingers, and they work as you would expect. And what I really like is the analog. This is the best analog ever in terms of video gaming, in the terms of ever. Because, let me explain. It's great. Let's grab my controller I do for streams and Let's Plays. Okay, I unplug it. This rolly shit annoys the hell out of me. It just doesn't feel natural, and it doesn't feel good for me when it comes to tactile gameplay. This, on the other hand, they have these little grooves. You see those little grooves? It feels good because you know which direction you're going. Some of the time you have to stay here and with this 8-bit do one, you have to you know, you go this way, and sometimes you're going right instead of upright. You see what I'm saying? This has a more tactile feel to it, and you know where you're going when you're playing a video game. You know, you can feel by the grooves. You don't have to look at the controller, and it works fine. There's no clickies, and that's fine. I don't like those clickies anyways, but they're good for FPS games, for ducking and whatnot. And of course, the C-Stick also has those grooves. You no longer have C buttons, because that was a big problem on the N64 controller. But it gave you more inputs, just they were small though, and I don't hate the N64 controller, but I do have to admit it's one of the worst ones in gaming history. The face buttons, I understand, are off-putting to some, but it's when you wrap your hands around it and you press the buttons, you understand right away what they're going for. To me, this is what defines a 3D controller. Now, the D-pad, yes, I'll admit, it's crap. The D-pad is pretty much molded off of the Game Boy Advance. The original Game Boy Advance, not the SP. But the original one, the long one. The Model 1, whatever. Call it what you will. Anyway, so that is my GameCube story. Those are some things I like about the GameCube. It's a fantastic console. Another thing I must say I don't like, though, is the memory card. The 59 shouldn't have been released. They should have just released the 120 or whatever it was in the beginning. That would have made more sense. And also, one last thing, too. And another thing I don't like is all these fucking expansions on the bottom. I mean, it did serve a purpose. They had a modem for this fucking thing, but they never made it an online service. They had, I think, called Warp Pipe or something, would allow some games to be online compatible. But did anyone even use those? I never heard of anything. I just heard of the service. You also had Phantasy Star Online 1 and 2. I really love those games. I play them on my Dreamcast. But I don't know. And you can also use Game Boy. There's a Game Boy player too for the GameCube. I'm pretty sure most of you know what that is. It's a little accessory that you can hook up on the bottom of your GameCube and allows you to play Game Boy games on it. Kind of like the Super Game Boy, but this format. I mean, the reason why I don't show a picture or mention it in deeper details because I'm pretty sure most of you've heard this shit. But I don't have one of those. I could never afford it, and I was happy with the Super Game Boy. And I don't know, playing Game Boy games on a GameCube controller does not sound right. Because like I said, this is a 3D controller, not a 2D one. Doesn't work well for 2D games. But other than that, yeah, GameCube, awesome system. I really wish it got more love, but unfortunately time has done, its time has passed, but that's okay. As long as we still own the hardware and the games, we can still enjoy those and love them for what they are and what joy they bring us all. So, tomorrow I'll be showing the next video. I'll be showing you 5 games for the GameCube that I started off with when I first bought it. So I hope you are there for that. And once again, I am Foreverretro82. You keep loving, keep gaming, and you keep it retro, and we'll see you again soon. Bye now. Thank you for watching my video. If you'd like to see your name with these fine folks that have donated to my channel, feel free to check out my Patreon and throw me a couple dollars, and I'll throw your name up with these fine people. Or not. It's entirely up to you. I hope you have a great day, and thank you for dropping by.